This conference will now be recorded.
Well, so, for the champions, and we look at this in the
Great. Hello and a warm welcome to everyone that has joined us for today's webinar. Today we're going to be looking at appropriate agricultural technologies and innovations for agri-SMEs and smallholder farmers. My name is Sandra Perez. I'm Director of Agribusiness Programs at the African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership, AFAB. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. For today's webinar, we have received over 400 registrations from over 47 countries worldwide. And I can see that there's still people logging in. So just give them a little bit more time to log in and settle in. And then I think we can get underway. Before we get started, I do want to just run over a few housekeeping items so that you know how to participate in today's events. On the right-hand side of the platform, there is a chat box, and I would ask everyone, all the participants, to please make use of the chat box. Introduce yourself with your name, company, your email address, and do give us an indication of the expected outcomes from today's webinar. That would be great in terms of follow-up and assisting you in your expectations. We do also invite your comments and questions. So please, if you have any questions at any point for any of the speakers, do just type it in the chat box, and we will collect all those questions for the speakers, and we will address them during the 30-minute question and answer session at the end of the presentations. Just so you know, today's webinar will be recorded, and everyone will receive a follow-up email within the next couple of days with a link to view the presentations and a recording of today's webinar. So yes, please feel free. You are welcome to share the presentations with your colleagues. And I think at this point, I am going to ask all our speakers for this webinar to please have their cameras on so everyone can see who you are. And I would like to introduce our moderator for this 2-hour session, Mr. Henny van der Merwe, CEO at Agribusiness Development Corporation. Thank you very much, and please do enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon to everyone. As said, my name is Henny van der Merwe. I'm CEO of the Agribusiness Development Corporation, based in Stellenbosch, and I extend a hearty welcome to all of you from a very cold and wet Stellenbosch, and I think generally South Africa from a cold and wintry South Africa at this stage of this time of the year. We are also glad that we are just 2 days into the lifting of the almost, I was going to say, sanctions of the hard lockdown that we've had in South Africa. We, coming from the winelands of South Africa, are happy to be able to be allowed to consume alcohol again, and we look forward to starting to receive our tourists from local and international destinations in the not too distant future. I'm just trying to get my screen share going. There you go. I'm going to share just a little bit on the Agribusiness Development Corporation, our company. We have been doing project development work in Africa for the last 20 plus years, from almost Cape to Cairo. We are a project development facilitation company specializing in the design, the development, the management of integrated agribusiness development projects linked mostly to commercial farming. And we also are the owners of the Agri4Africa platform, which we call the Agribusiness Information Highway for Africa, where we share information on commercial farming and agribusiness to our clients and colleagues from all over Africa and beyond. I'm sharing quickly with you just a screen share of the Agri4Africa website, which you can find at agri4africa.com. with a very comprehensive company directory listing of the companies, the technology partners that we're working with. You can read a little bit information about who we are. You see the logos of the many partners in our group. We've got more than 50 commercial agribusiness companies, technology companies in the group. We also publish two newsletters electronically every month. The latest is on our website called the African Agripreneur, and I think what is relevant about that, we talk about opportunities in alternative farming, from rabbits and goats to snails and cane cutters or cane rats that our colleagues from Nigeria would know very well. You'll see further down on our website, sorry, I'm jumping there, you'll see our newsletters, links to the previous newsletters, and also the Agripreneur newsletters. Let me just go back to my previous screen. Sorry about that. I just want to get back in. Just for the schedule for today, I'm just running through quickly what the program looks like. We will be allocating roughly 15 minutes for our 5 presentations, starting as per the program with Backsaver, then moving to Multigrow, Kiki Agri, Mayfield Enterprises, Basil's Business Opportunities. That should take us through to 3:30 and allow 30 minutes for questions, which you can post online, and we will collate and address to each of the speakers at the end, and allow each speaker to handle any specific questions. So once you've heard the presentations and you have a specific question, please address to the specific speaker, or general questions we will also address at the end. And then just before we get to our first presenter, just to talk a little bit about the reason for us partnering with FAP on appropriate technology. We believe that firstly, expertise and knowledge is the cornerstone of development of commercial agribusiness and progress in the agribusiness sector in Africa. And hand in hand with that goes the right technology to be able to move the level of development and sophistication of our rich agricultural sector in Africa forward. So we've put together a selection of companies that all provide appropriate technology. And I think we are hearing a lot about the fourth industrial revolution and bombarded with information about wonderful tractors that drive themselves and drone technology. But we believe the first step in development often starts with very basic technology, often first and second industrial revolution technology. And what we are showcasing for you today is a selection of appropriate technology that we believe is critical to move small scale and subsistence to the next level of commercial farming. And having said that, I think you will hear from the speakers. We've got a very well-versed selection of speakers, all with practical, not only farming, but equipment and technology experience that we believe can make a difference. And I'm therefore happy to start to introduce you firstly to Mikros Janse van Rensburg, the owner of Backsaver Farming Equipment. And the title of his presentation is smart backsaver mechanization tools for the African farmer, not only saving you the backache, but helping you to farm profitably. Yes, with that short introduction, Mikris, it is over to you, and we look forward in the next 15 odd minutes to hear your not only your story, but the solutions that you have developed over the last 10 odd years to make the life of small-scale farmers easier and to, as the name of your business suggests, save the backs of many a farmer in Africa. So thank you, Mikris.
Hi, Eddie. Thanks for the opportunity. To all the guys, this is first experience on seminar. I'm more a guy who prefers to be in the field in Africa doing my training, and so bear with me. This is my first experience. First of all, I want to tell you about my life. I'm a commercial farmer of African, and we're doing crops. With my experience in farming, I realized that we've got problems. One year we had a big problem with cutworms, and I developed a maize planter to solve the problem. But over the years, the planter became popular, and I tried to develop more equipment for small-scale farmers. I'm a strong believer in how to make a small-scale farmer successful, to give them the correct tools. There's no difference between a hectare farmer and a 1,000-hectare farmer. They all have to apply the same rules. There's a couple of rules like spacing and depth. The farmer must apply with those rules. The hand planter, maybe we can have a video of the hand planter, Michelle. Can you hear me, Michelle? Quite simple planter. But the important thing on this planter is always plant at the same depth, and you can adjust the spacing. What we experience in the normal practice of the small-scale farmers, they're doing a hoe method, and normally, like especially in the southern part of Africa, the hoe method, they plant basically in dry soil, and then they need rain again to germinate. With this one, this planter planted through the layer of dry soil and put the seed in the wet soil. They germinate immediately. Once you plant the planter, you'll see that the stand, and it will look like a expensive planter. But over the years, we developed better planters. I've got now a push and pull planter, ox-drawn, or it's light enough to be drawn by 2 people. It all works with coulter, so there's not that much resistance, and we use a seed mechanism that can help the farmer to plant precise. Maybe go to the next slide, this planter. Can you hear me, Michelle? This has become a very popular planter for your 2 to 10 hectare farm. I built it strong enough that it can, as I said, be drawn by animal or by 2 pole. The seed mechanism is very precise, and again, fertilizer application is very difficult for a small scale farmer in Africa. And there you can calibrate it 100%. So basically, what we try to do this one is to make it, give the client a planter that can plant the most expensive planter on a market. Over the years, first I planters been critical for me. But with all my travels in Africa, I the fertilizer application is maybe the toughest problem for many farmers. Apply, and even if you go up in Africa, the fertilizer price is also higher. So I developed first a single shot fertilizer applicator. You can either do it on top with your LAN and your urea. But what we experience in the small farmer is that they apply your phosphates not correct. If you know phosphate, it doesn't move in a soil. So if the farmer apply the phosphate, the basal fertilizer, it will be useless for a plant. You have to put it deeper. So on a third video, I will show you that. In the first video is just the top trace, fertilize up where the farm just top trace. Maybe you can play that video. It's 5 grams on it per plant. It's like a coconut food. Normally the measurement the farmer use is quite practical. The container holds about 4 kilograms of fertilizer. In the second video, that is a combination with the hand planter and the fertilizer applicator together. So the first person plant the seed, and the second one do the basal fertilizer applicator deeper, around about 5 centimeters. If a farmer plant like that, it will be like you planted with an expensive planter, 100% precise. On the third video, in South Africa, a lot of farmers use fertilizer applicator to do a fertilizer for the cabbage. We can go to the next. No, it's gone. All right. I hope I might make point clear that fertilizer like phosphate must be placed deeper to be utilized by the plant properly. But again, with top dress, a lot of farmers, they use top dress. They do apply urea, but they just put it on top and they do it inaccurate. This driven fertilizer applicator, I think this is one of my top products and used by many farmers. What I've done here is to cancel walking speed. Walking speed is for every person is different, and I saw some things on the market from China where they just walk and deliver fertilizer. But with this one, I wanted to make something that they can calibrate it 100%. You can see it's working with gears, which crate. It's got a gear pack. They can calibrate it from 8 grams per meter to 20 grams per meter. The meter's got like a normal planter. The fertilizer it uses takes about 8 kilograms. It's a video. It's a lovely crop here, and let's play the video quickly. See there, you can see that the person using this walking speed doesn't matter. You will find that walking speed in the morning, 8 o'clock, and walking speed 3 o'clock in the afternoon is different also. We can go to the next. But while we're waiting there, AgSaver want to become a solution company for your small scale farmers in Africa. From your 1 hectare farmer up to a 20 hectare farmer. Give them a total solution. And my vision, as I must say, I want to be the John Deere of Africa. We're building a strong, reliable, and we've got enough partners in Africa like F3 and companies, big co-ops who selling backsavers, which we are very proud of. The Indian planter is just something new, nothing like this exists in the world. This is the next step, next level, to take the small scale farmer up to a real commercial farmer. I think I'm done.
Thank you, Mikros. I think that was very insightful, and I think it makes the point that firstly you've developed equipment as a farmer for the farmer, which is, I think, also the slogan of your business. So when Mikros comes up with a design, it is not a theoretical implement. It's something that was designed firstly to solve a practical solution that is experiencing on a farm, and secondly that is working in a farm environment, as is also the many accolades that Mikros has received over the years from NAMPO and other platforms, design awards for the real world solutions that he is providing for small scale farmers. Mikros, we really applaud you. I think we see a huge opportunity to assist our small scale and subsistence farmers to move into commercial. I think a typical example that we can mention, as many of you would know, when you're planting by hand and you're planting with a stick and poking holes and dropping seed, firstly, you can't apply fertilizer. Secondly, you can only most probably cover a hectare or two at most in a season. The moment you move to the hand planter, the multi-planter, it allows you to place the seed at a predetermined constant interval. It allows you to place fertilizer below the seed. It allows you to cover 4, 5 hectares up to 10 hectares with manual power, whether it is 1 or 2 people pushing and pulling, or whether it's with an animal, at a cost that is a fraction of the next level of mechanization, which would be either a two-wheel tractor or a tractor. Cost-wise, I think I think in South African terms, we talk about the multi-planter, the push planter with fertilizer and seed bins. Mikros, if I remember correctly, you're talking about 6,000 or 7,000 rand, which would be the equivalent of possibly $400 in dollar terms for a piece of equipment that can really revolutionize your ability to farm profitably. And I've said it on numerous occasions that it will enable you, I think, without much fear of vituperation, the fact that you will double your yields by just using proper technique and obviously then good seed and apply fertilizer. But thank you very much, Mikros. I think I've not said Mikros is a farmer from the Bultfontein area. That's in the Free State province of South Africa, for those that do not know. And he's predominantly a grain and also a vegetable farmer. Thank you. And having said that, I'm going to try to share my screen again, which was a bit of an unsuccessful exercise the previous time round. If you'll just bear with me, I want to just get to the right slide to introduce Gerard Skeepers of Multigrow to you. Just a moment, it's not as smooth as I had hoped, but anyway, there we go. Is it up? Okay. It's my privilege to introduce to you Gerard Skeepers, the technical manager of Multigrow. It's also a Cape Town-based company. Now, Gerard grew up in Namibia. He studied mechanical engineering, as they say, many moons ago. He's been involved in the greenhouse industry since 1985, and he's been in the manufacturing business of greenhouses and related products, lately also aluminium profiles, since 1990. That means that Gerard brings with him more than 30, 35 years of practical experience in the greenhouse and intensive farming industry. And he's happily married, and they have a daughter and a son. And Gerard is telling me that he's getting a what do you call it, a daughter-in-law when his son gets married at the end of the year. Gerard's title of his presentation would be Unlocking the Value of Small-Scale Greenhouse Farming, what is possible and what makes business sense. So having said that, Gerard, that's over to you.
Thank you very much, Henny. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try and share my screen. Let me just start with that. Let me just go into my screen. Sorry about that. I had a problem with that sharing earlier, but let's just try and see if I can just open up there. Anyhow, I've got the same problem as what I had earlier. Just stick with me. I just want to.
Maybe you can minimize again as you did last, just to reduce the size of that screen so you can see the icon at the bottom.
Yeah, I'll try. And now I had
yeah, almost there. Keep to the right. No, a little bit left. A little bit left. A little bit more. More. Another 2 centimeters. Go, 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 go. Just another centimeter. There. You can click, click. Just go right a little bit, Gerard.
Okay, just a sec.
Just go a little bit right there. You're almost there. A little bit right. Yeah, click there. Just go up a little bit, small, but just move your cursor there. You're on the icon now.
I'm clicking. I'm actually seeing the screen of everyone here. Just a second. Let me just change here. Let's see if I can help that. Sorry, people. It's just that something gets stuck on my screen here. I just want to see if I can just reduce that in size. Just a sec. Right.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Okay. Sorry. You're not yet on there, any?
Yeah, we can see it. It's up.
Can you see it? Okay. Sorry, everyone, for that. But as Henny said, when you reach 60, all these things are new. And I think there are probably people that are handier with the IT tools than what I am. Yeah, multi-grow online. A lot of people ask me, but why multi-grow online? We obviously try to cater for multi-growing different structures and things, but the online started. And are getting a lot of feedback. But what happened is that a couple of years ago, Lord gave me insight that the online is necessary. That is to sell online, and I didn't know that, about coronavirus, and now we're there. And I didn't fully develop that side of the business to sell online, but we coming up with that soon. So what I want to do this afternoon. See, now my screen is frozen there. I just want to tell you who we are, what we do, why do you need shade and greenhouses, the types of greenhouses that we manufacture, the growing in soil and in bags, just because I know there are some areas that are easier to grow in the soil, has got good soil, others not, and then the irrigation and fertigation, and then the type of products. Now, we are a greenhouse manufacturing company, as Annie has said. I got involved 35 years ago. Obviously, I didn't manufacture then. I was working for a company, and then I got the opportunity to start manufacturing myself, went into a partnership, and so it developed. Now, we got over the years, we got involved in bigger turnkey projects as well, although we as a company cater from the house grower for domestic greenhouse right up to commercial farming. Now, we get involved from the propagation and seedling stage and the rooting of cuttings, depends what you do, the growing stage and to the production stage. And as I said, we cater for the home grower to the commercial farmer. Why do you need a greenhouse or a shade house? Now, we all know, and I know everyone that is on this call, we come from various areas in the country, even in South Africa. I mean, from the Karoo right down to the Western Cape, it's cold and wet now, to Natal, and so is Africa. So the climates vary. So the primary purpose of a greenhouse is actually to provide you conditions that you can grow all year round. And doesn't matter what the weather conditions are. Fortunately, in a greenhouse, you can get to the right temperature. You can provide humidity. There's so much more that you can do in a greenhouse than just an open field where you've got the weather and the climate of whatever is outside to put up with. Now, to create that controlled environment, you want that best for your plant, whatever you're going to plant. We know that some plants are more sensitive to temperatures or humidity or sunlight. So you can, in a greenhouse, you can cater for all of that for your specific crop, whether it's a tomato or cucumber, peppers, beans, whatever it is. And then the other reason why you need it is actually for crop protection. Now, that is either against rain, sun, cold, insects. It depends where you are. And just with the microclimate that you create in the greenhouse, that gives you that opportunity to get ultimate growth. And as we say there, better and higher production. And if you do from the seedling and the cutting, that's to say the propagation stage, you need a greenhouse. You can't always do it out in the open, and to do it under protection is so much better to do that. Now, there are various types of greenhouses that we manufacture. As I say, we cater obviously for the domestic market as well, but still, there are two types of greenhouse you get. The naturally ventilated greenhouse, where you don't use any forced ventilation, fans or anything. You've got either the roof or right over the roof and sides closed, but the ends open, or you've got swing up doors and or roll up doors with windows, or roll up side curtains. There are various types of greenhouses that you can use specifically for your conditions that you have there. So I prefer if it is very, very windy, strong winds and things, the closer your greenhouse can be, the better. If you've got good ventilation, your doors and windows is ideal, because that protects your crop as well. And then the second part will be the greenhouse covered either with shade netting if you don't need protection. Some places you want to control how much water you give to your plants, so you want plastic over it, or polycarbonate. We do both polycarbonate or plastic greenhouses. Or you just want a shade house, or you're in an area where you've got virus problems, a lot of insects, then you need insect net over your greenhouse. Then the second type is obviously your forced ventilation. That's a pad and fan cooling house with a digital controller. That is if you want better control, and you've got power, you've got water flow, you've got your pumps, you can automate your house, then it's the best to go for that. And obviously then you put a fan in, and obviously we size the size of the fan according to the volume of your greenhouse, and also the same thing for your wet wall at the back with the wet pad system. That is your air that comes in, goes through a wall that is impregnated with water. It cools down, pick up humidity, and cools down the air inside. And that is probably the Rolls Royce of all systems to use. Obviously more pricey. That is what brings us to the next point that I just want to point out there. It is obviously very important. What is it that your plant need for optimal growth? And there are control tools, like I said, the ventilation and the evaporative cooling pads on the opposite side. Your lights, if you're in an area where you need extra lighting. I think in South Africa and in Africa, we're quite blessed with a lot of sunlight. But if it gets too hot, you need a retractable screen to protect your crop for a certain time of the day, say at 11 o'clock to close and open up 3 o'clock in the afternoon again, just to take the extra, the scorch of the sun, take that off. You have circulation fans in, and obviously if you're in an area where it's very cold, then you have to look at the heat system. CO2 in South Africa is not that important, but the guys that have started with cannabis, I think is one of the only products that I've picked up over the years that really you have to look at your CO2 levels there as well. Then the different sizes and types of greenhouses. I've mentioned now the natural ventilated, but we start with a domestic greenhouse. The smallest one is a 1.8 by 2.4 meters. We build a 3 by 6 or longer. If I say 6 meters, it's just a standard, the smallest one that we normally build. Although we cater for anyone. If someone comes and say, Gerrit, I want a 3 meter by 4 meter greenhouse, well, normally the increments are in 2 meter sections, then we do it for them. And the 4 by 6 is more our popular greenhouse that we use, especially for guys that do their own propagation or indoor plants or whatever else. You can see it's the picture there, it's the second from the right, where you can put any type of shelving in. You can put your own irrigation system in. That one has got a swivel window and the door on the opposite end. So yeah, we cater for everything in the domestic market. Then we go over, we build an 8 and a 10 meter greenhouse. And the reason why I say the 36 meter long commercial greenhouses People, I don't like to go longer than 36 meters. Why? If you've ever been in a greenhouse, it's a plastic covering, it gets hot inside. If your airflow is not good, you can lose your crop. So I always ask people, where are you situated? What are your conditions like? You have to look at it and to decide what type of house. Do you need roll-up sides to get extra ventilation if your doors and windows are not sufficient for that? So if your airflow is not good, it's a good thing to have, but I still believe in windows on the end to get that chimney effect, suck in from the side and push out the heat in the gable tops. Then you see the third one is it's an open-ended one, like I said. You protect your crop. You don't want extra water on it, especially with seedlings and things. And you lay either your foamolite trays or plastic trays, put it on a wire system there, and then you can irrigate it. And normally it's well protected. High wind areas, we just changed the netting to a denser net system. The one on the right is a propagation system. That's a thing that we do a lot, either with electrical heating cables, or we do a heat pump with hot water heating, but that is mostly for large installations, because then the power usage play a major role. Because obviously with the heat pump, either 3-to-1 ratio in it, it is so much cheaper to run than what it is then with cabling. But for small installations, the heating cables are sufficient. There's a second row there, you can just see the various or the differences in tunnels that we have with the ventilation at the top. This client is not always there, and he says he closes his greenhouse, but he wants some airflow. It's not a very long one, then we leave an opening at the top, but we still put windows in for maximum ventilation. Next to it, if you have got power, then you can go over to a pad and fan cooling house. That's a 8-meter one. Next to it is a 10-meter that we built, and that one specific one has got the roll-up sides as well. That is what the client wanted. To me, it didn't make sense, but then the next one is your also a propagation unit. We've given it extra height. That tunnel specifically is 3.5 on the side. Now that's high for a high wind area, but we've put extra strength in it, and it is doing the job very well. Now, just to come back to that second last picture, why did I say it doesn't make sense? If you've got a pad and fan cooling system, anywhere where there's an opening, you short circuit the airflow. So the one end will get good ventilation, the other side will build up heat. So if you can't pull in the air from the one side right through the other side, you might have a problem. Right, then we've got multi-span greenhouses, multi-span, that is continuous roofs. We start with the 6-meter one that we built, 8-meter one next to it. You'll see the third picture there is a multi-span. That's an 8-meter house, but with antivirus netting around it. That was for a quarantine station. Then we do the big multi-span greenhouse with pad and fan cooling or natural ventilation. And the bottom one on the right, that is also with insect netting over the wet wall area, over the fan, with a walk-in room. So it depends what it uses for the greenhouse. We cater around to it. We built a specific protection in so that we can have a proper quarantine there. Then you can have your shade houses. Yep. Okay, dankie. Okay, then the thing is a flat roof net structure or a dome roof, various types, and then obviously the bottom one is an AV net structure. Something else that we do with greenhouses is either wood drying, fruit drying. There are various things that you can dry in a greenhouse. We call it a solar kiln. It gets hot enough, you can dry anything, and there's just some of the equipment, wet walls and things. Grow mediums from pots, bags, slabs. And then your irrigation, you can go with high-tech irrigation, or the one on the right-hand side, that picture is actually a gravity-fed irrigation system. And yeah, high-end products I'll put in a greenhouse: cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, or flower production. Anything else, cabbage and things, you can also do in there, but I just found the leafy stuff, leave it outside. It's cheaper. Seedlings and cuttings obviously inside as well. If you need a quotation, you need more information, please contact us. This is our detail. And thank you so much, Henny. Henny, can you hear me there?
Yes, Gerard, thank you very much for the fairly comprehensive coverage of what is possible under cover. We firmly believe that intensive farming it should be very much part of the discussion about how do we empower smaller scale farmers across Africa, because the reality is that low value crops in small areas do not gel very well when we talk about commercial business sense and going for sustainable crop production. So I think in my experience, and I've had some experience with the Amiran Farmers Kit that was developed in Kenya as a turnkey small-scale tunnel, and the success that they've had with that is testament of the fact that combined with funding, combined with training, combined with finance, it is something that smaller scale farmers can look at and should really be on the agenda, especially with the issues around climate change and the risk associated with open field production. But anyway, Gerard, thank you very much. Michelle, I'm unable to share my screen. Can you close the...
Here you go.
Sorry for that. I am trying to share my screen. Okay, I'm now able to... Okay, we're going to the next presentation now, which is by Philip Killian of Kiki Agri. So we're changing gears. We're moving to animal production now, and specifically poultry production, which is and should be an integral part of much of the discussion in terms of opportunities for farming in the African environment, and it's already part of life of many rural farming communities. Firstly, about Philip, he started his career in the franchise industry, and specifically both as franchisee and franchisor on both sides of the fence, so to speak. And in that environment, he understood very clearly the absolute need for training and support to ensure effective rural operations, which are principles that also apply to the Kiki Agri business. I think he's passionate about entrepreneurship. He's a firm believer in the fact that there's a way to grow out of subsistence farming or startups into profitable operations. And in his endeavors and looking around at opportunities, specifically in the poultry industry, he realized that there's a need for sustainable small-scale farming solutions in poultry, where the focus is often on large-scale commercial. And in that sense, he became the mastermind of the Nkoko concept, which is the small-scale poultry concept. He's also a strong believer in technology, and I think bringing technology to bear in small-scale farming. And his motto is, in every problem or challenge lies an opportunity. And we look forward, Philip, to hear how you've applied that in Kiki Agri, specifically related to the Nkoko business opportunity. Over to you.
Yes, hello. My name is Philip Killian. As Henny just said, thank you very much, Henny. Welcome here from sunny but cool Johannesburg. The Nkoko really is an effective broiler production for the small scale farmer, and the whole focus is really geared towards the startup or subsistence farmer. So what we need here is passion. You can have the next slide, please. All right, so BFAP, or Development Southern Africa, in 2014 has done a study to see how small-scale farmers can fit into the commercial or the traditional value chains, and they come up with a few findings that I find very interesting, and we fully relate to that over the last few years. Any farmer needs access to market and value chain, in that it's good and well to produce effectively, but you still need to market your product. And then also a fact is that small farmer does pay more for his inputs, his or her inputs, compared to a commercial farmer that obviously buys in large quantities. But the small farmer, although paying higher for his inputs, he can also receive a substantial premium on the sale of live birds, as opposed to a commercial farmer selling slaughtered, typically to your retail chains and butcheries, etc. And then so the poultry industry is a dualistic industry with, on the one side, the informal or the live bird sale, and on the other side would be the commercial or sophisticated commercial value chain. All right, so we got higher inputs payable, challenge, but we got higher premiums. Next slide, please. All right, so in 2014, and it's very similar today, income would be around about 65 rands in South African rands per bird, and your total production cost would be around about 30 rand, plus minus about half of it. So if that's on live birds. So if I do small scale live and slaughtered, in others I involve a abattoir or get a group of people involved in my rural village, my income is around about 50 rand per bird, and total production cost would be around about 33 rand to accommodate the slaughter cost. Then on the other side, remember the sophisticated commercial value chain. Commercial slaughtered sales income would be around about 25 rand per bird, and total production cost would be 21 rand per bird. That's in 2014. So it gives you an idea, small scale, very profitable, high margins available, but you've got smaller quantities. And on the commercial side, you have volumes. All right, so the small scale farmer needs to explore live and slaughtered local markets. He must try and market directly to the end user. There's no butchery or KFC contract focus in this picture. And you only have 100 birds to sell, you can do it. Next slide, please. All right, so small-scale broiler production objectives would include, you want around about 2 kilogram live birds, live weight average after 42 days. So you also want to grow it within 42 days or a 6-week cycle. You want to have minimum mortalities. We typically allow at Kiki Agri around about 5%, and it's got to be cost effective. So you want maximum margin. So your feeding program and your growth program needs to be spot on. And then I asked the question, why broilers? Well, it's the quickest cash flow in farming. It's only a 6-week cycle from day one. Chicken meat is very popular in many markets and many countries, and it's also very easy to sell. And you also you need low startup capital to start farming, and then you also need small space. This is ideal for backyard farming or a small holding. You really don't need a large commercial expensive farm. All right, so if you important success recipe, farming is business. We train our people accordingly. So can you imagine trying to bake a cake and the recipe wants 2 eggs, part of the list of ingredients, and I decide to take out the eggs. Guess what? There will be no egg. There will be no successful cake. And it's the same applies here. So your success recipe would include the correct housing or the correct chicken coop. Critically important. All these aspects are very important, but correct ventilation, because fresh air is a critical component. Correct lighting, in other words, your white light. Typically in broiler production, you would like to extend your daylight hours. Correct heating, especially the first couple of weeks until they're fully feathered. They are like babies and they need baby grows. In this case, you will need to heat them with either a gas lamp or infrared lamps. Correct feed, also very important. So in other words, that'll include your starter, your grower, and your finisher mash. correct vaccines. So you'll be buying the correct chicks, which are inoculated, and then according to a certain program, you'll have your correct vaccine administration, normally through the drinking water. All right, and then the correct grower system and knowledge. This is also a very important aspect. And then the correct record keeping. You cannot control what you can't measure. And then important also is correct business management. That will include financial, in other words, maximize your profits and save some money and let your business grow. And the other component would be the marketing management. In other words, how can I effectively sell my live chickens all sorted? All right, so then we're proud to offer this the Nkoko solution that's been coming for 5 or 6 years now. It's very easy to assemble. You need approximately 45 minutes. You just need a rubber mallet to assemble the steel frame, and you clad the walls and the roof, and you're ready to start farming. Delivery can be via courier service. So in other words, you can have this delivered across any market into any country as well. The product is also well insulated. It keeps the house cool when you want it to be cool. And this first couple of weeks, as I mentioned earlier, you can have the house nice and warm and cozy. Then you got around about 11 birds per square meter. It's very easy to disinfect. You need about a day to disinfect and clean the house, and you're ready for the next batch. Also, part of our solution is the correct training and support. And then we also developed over the years an ABC correct grower system. It's a paint by numbers grower system, so it's a very simple. It's in English. It can be translated into French and Portuguese, for example, or you tell us what language you need, and we can make a plan. Right. Next slide, please.
Philip, please tell us about Nkoko and Start Farming. What are these about?
The Nkoko was designed by myself about 5 to 6 years ago. I involved some consultants to make sure that the house is correct. As we went along, I then realized that there's some real potential for small scale and emerging farmer solutions, and especially backyard farmers. Okay, igama lami nguPaseka Mokoena, ngihlala eSprings. Ngiqala ukusebenzela i-Start Farming 3 years ago.
Yini ekwenza ukuthi ube interested yini uPhilip ayishilo enza ukuthi ube khona la namhlanje?
Uthe uPhilip makangitshela ukuthi ale nkukhu lezi iza in 3 days time, wena your only job ukuthi nje uyafida, uclean i-cage yakho, uthela amanzi. Nami ngabona i-opportunity ukuthi hayi yiyo le business engayicala, uyabona, because after 6 weeks time mase ngizithengise zonke ngithola i-profit yabo ma 3,000, uyabona.
You'll see it comes in a cage form, then you can assemble it yourself. Very simple to assemble. It takes you about 40 minutes and you can start farming.
It's not like in Melbourne, farming food.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you have a small space, then the caging is set.
We formed a new company called Start Farming about a year or two ago. It consists of a group of specialist partners from animal health, veterinarians, etc., chicken production specialists. And this group of specialist partners, we then designed the successful chicken farming recipe. So the correct house is the first part of a successful recipe or successful chicken farm. So the correct house means the correct space. In other words, only so many birds per square meter. The correct ventilation, in other words, big enough windows that you can open up. The first 2 to 3 weeks, I need less ventilation but more heat. But after about 2 to 3 weeks time, when they're fully feathered, ventilation becomes critical. So the house has got to have the right space, the correct ventilation, and also important, the correct insulation in the roof as well.
So the chicken can come out and go in.
So the second part of the recipe then would be the correct equipment. So many drinkers, so many feeders, your baby feeding trays and your mini drinkers as well.
Why i-sawdust lana ngoba besibekiseni lana ngisho.
Yes, angisho sifake i-sawdust ukuthi zikwazi ukuthi zigagele khona, then after lapho le sawdust yakho after 6 weeks ungakhona ukwenza i-compost ngayo, and zingakwazi ukuthola ama-germs simple because lezi ama-broilers, the more they get ama-germs zizofa zonke fast. Then the other component or ingredients in this recipe would be the correct chicks. So you buy from a reputable hatchery and you make sure that these chicks are reputable South African bred and they must be inoculated. In other words, they must be vaccinated on day one. Yeah, because I need to tell you it is not about 2 days, it's now it's not really next. Then
Okay, things are okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay, khombisa ukudla.
yeah.
So it doesn't have to eat. Nje mele yazi ukuthi ukudla kuphi amandla ukuphi.
Yeah, amafidi kumele abe ngapha ngasemnyango ukuthi ungalibele ungene uyenze i-up and down for your first 2 weeks because mawuzongena ngecathulo zakho lana uzolibele ufaka ama-germs. Yeah, that's why sithi lezinto lezi zihlala la emnyango, uvula umnyango, you feed, then you close the door.
Okay. Ungathanda ukuthini kumuntu mhlambe obheka i-living land manje and ufuna ukuqala le business yenkukhu bacabanga ukuthi mhlambe badinga ispace esikhulu noma ijaradi elikhulu?
Hayi umntwini vele ongathi ufuna ukucala yona le same business yabona, but there's no need ukuthi kumele ube nespace esikhulu. Ezingishilo ungastarta kancane then angeke ucale kakhulu ungana-clientele. Uzoyenza kanjani? Kumele ucale kancane wazi ukuthi okay mase nginama-client then-ke sengizokwazi ukuthi okay kule month le kumele at least ngikhulise 300 ngizokwazi ukuthi ngizihambisa kanjani.
Right, perfect. Thank you. Living Land, that's a national TV SABC2 program or airing that they gave us. Right now, as we said earlier, the technology or the support, the training and the support plays a critical role as well. We've come across in many countries and locally in South Africa as well, where people are be given an opportunity or starting to farm, and then it starts falling flat after a while, individual as well as projects. So the Nkoko app, which is being developed at this present moment, will be an app developed for older technology Android platforms, and the objective here is to give us a grower manual summary. In other words, the farmer can revisit some of the aspects, for example, how to vaccine or how to vaccinate the product, or how to administer the product. And then so the grower manual is an important part of it, and then the daily recording program per batch. So you'll tell the app today is the 20th of August, is my starting day. My day-old chicks are being placed, and then the reminders will then tell me. So 7 days later, for example, the app will tell you weigh your chicks today, and a little calculator will come up with allowing for 10 entries, and it'll calculate the average weight, and it's sent to me in Johannesburg. At my office, I get a whole set of software solutions that I can measure and monitor all the units out in the field, and then we can come back with them interactive support. So we can tell them, listen, we noticed your birds are growing slower, or they might be growing too fast, because we got certain objectives, growth objectives over the 6-week period. And then also the app must serve as a project management tool of note. Kiki Agri also assists with project development as well. So you could have a project anyway, and then we could have management reporting available via the app as well. And the app will be launched in the next few weeks. Thank you. Next slide, please. And that was me from Johannesburg. Thank you very much.
Philip, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I think this demonstrates clearly how technology, in line with our theme of appropriate agricultural technology innovations for AgriSMEs and smallholder farmers, can be used in the poultry production environment. We use the principles of commercial production that large-scale farmers are using to control environment, take some of those elements and build it into a system that can be applied and can be used by small-scale farmers. So I think it's a great way to empower small-scale poultry producers to graduate and use technology. And if I look at the figures that you've quoted from BFAP, I think live bird production specifically can be a very profitable business, even at small scale, where the small scale farmer has a very distinct competitive advantage of the ability to provide live birds, which many of the big producers cannot provide.
Any, Ron, you can ask Philip, what is the cost of a system like that?
Can I answer, Rennie?
Yeah, I think we'll do a quick one.
Yeah, your normal retail or off-the-shelf price would be around about would be in the region of about 15,000 rands. Obviously, it's subject to quantity discounts, and then it obviously would exclude delivery. It all depends. If it's a project, doesn't matter the size. It can be a small project. There's normally some traveling involved and accommodation for your facilitator or your trainers. But ballpark figure around about 15,000 rand, complete with all the equipment, your drinkers, feeders, infrared lamps or gas if there's no electricity, solar light if there's no electricity, or a white light. It's a package deal. But you're more than welcome to email me at that email address, and tell me. We'll start talking about your specific requirements, and we can tailor make the pricing solution then for you.
Thank you, Philip.
A pleasure.
Thank you for that question. I think we'll keep any further questions to the question and answer session at the end. Michelle, if we can move to the next presentation, please. So I would like to introduce you then to Craig and Chanel of Mayfield Enterprises. Craig is the sole proprietor and the executive manager of Mayfield Enterprises. Craig graduated with a diploma in industrial design in 1989, and after a short stint in industry, Craig joined the family business. Let me just get the screen up. No, Michelle, I'm not able to share my screen, but anyway, you can move to the Mayfield presentation. I was saying that Craig joined the family business, which was started by his dad in 1983, and he optimized and grew the business and the product range to where they are now, where they are providing a whole array of fertilizer application devices, including forestry, and they are exporting product literally all over the world. So, Craig, Chanel, over to you.
Thanks, Henny. Can you hear us?
Yeah, clearly.
And can you see us?
Can you see us, Henny?
Yes, yes, I can.
Well, I think we're the first double act of the afternoon, and I have to say it's a very nice way for a commercial lawyer to spend her afternoon. Craig and I are married, and so we haven't figured out yet who's the CEO and who is the COO. We're ironing those difficulties out, but perhaps you'll be able to guess by the end of the presentation. It's Craig's baby, this business. And he's taken it from an idea into a fully fledged global business. So if we can just move to the next slide, and maybe in reference to what Henny was saying earlier on, which is expertise and knowledge together with technology will move us forward. But I think here's a little video clip of what happens if that little equation is out of balance. Can we play the clip?
What do you guys saw? You guys. Tony! Can you hear us? Tony! Oh no! Jen, call him. Oh my oh boy. What's up? Tony, I can see you.
That is like
Goodbye.
Okay, there's a slight delay on our side, so I hope everybody saw that, and I'm sure anybody who's had to endure these webinars and Zoom meetings has got at least some sympathy for the poor guy in his underwear. But to now talk about fertilizers, if we can just move to the next slide. So, I mean, fertilizer is an integral and critical part of farming. It is an industry which is plagued with some challenges, and according to various media reports, these are some of the top issues that are facing the fertilizer industry in the short and medium term. I'm sure many of you can relate to this, but I think the things that we want to pick out so that you can understand the value of the Mayfield product is things like the low yield due to wrong usage of NPK. In other words, the incorrect or inefficient application of fertilizer. Other things like regulatory policies, heavy imports, the lack of domestic productions, the raw materials availability and pricing, all of those contribute to the expense and the input costs into farming, and are hamstrung by a lack of efficiency or appropriate production, or a lack of application in the fertilizing value chain. It's something which I think the African Development Bank has picked up, and they have, as you can see, sent out or issued a call to strengthen the fertilizer value chain, and this was this year, 2020, notwithstanding our other global pandemic challenges. The next slide, please. Next slide,
please.
Guys, I need the next slide if you can hear me. No, back one,
please.
Okay, so those were kind of the global headline challenges. There's some regional challenges which I think many of us can relate to in Africa. in Asia, some of the difficulties they're having with efficiencies and in smaller scale farming and subsistence farming is well-meaning NGOs and government policies introducing fertilizers, but not actually following through with efficient applicators or efficient competencies or tools to apply fertilizers. So there's similar difficulties in India, and the result there has been some very serious pollution issues, which obviously gives rise to poor farming conditions. In first world environments, they share the same issues, but are plagued by regulatory issues. So there's difficulty in moving products, there's difficulties in regionalizations, increasing regulatory challenges. There's a much greater vigilance in policing pollution, mismanagement, the application of fertilizers, etc., etc. So all of these issues all point to the efficiencies of applying the fertilizer. There's no doubt that the fertilizer is required, that it's critical, but what seems to be even more critical is the efficient application of the fertilizer in whatever crop that is under discussion. And notwithstanding all of that, you'll see from the Progressive Farmer, which is primarily a North American publication, their perspective for the fertilizer industry or sector is that the demand is great and the future is bright. So I guess that it's all by way of introduction to the good news, which is that the Mayfield product is the ideal product for application of fertilizer in low-cost farming, small-scale farming, and in farming areas where the geographical regional terrain is difficult. So I guess this is how we feel when we talk to our market about the Mayfield. And if we can go to the next slide and play that video.
It's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday then, it's Saturday, what?
Okay, hopefully that gave you a sense of how excited we are about the product and introducing it to a greater market than we're already seeing. I think it's probably a good idea to hand over to Craig now, who's got a much better sense of the history, obviously, and he can tell you a little bit more about the technicalities of the product.
Hi, thanks to Henny. He gave us a brief introduction as to the development of where the product developed from. My father, Chris Garnett, a well-respected farmer on the North Coast, developed the product way back in the early 80s. The idea came about from hiking. He was a keen hiker, and that's where the product the idea came about. If anyone knows the Natal North Coast, the terrain is fairly hilly, and we had issues with mechanical fertilizer application, and that a lot of fertilizer was wasted or didn't reach the areas of the field that it required. He put together a prototype in the early 80s, and it evolved from there to a product that became renowned in the sugar industry along the North Coast, and developed and expanded throughout the sugar industry north of us into neighboring countries and across the globe. The diversification of the product, so what we've been doing over the years is trying to streamline and try and make the product more cost effective, and to reach and make it more user-friendly and more comfortable. And the product has sort of evolved over the years to what we manufacture today. And you'll see later in the slides, there are further developments that we are busy with. The products are shipped internationally, predominantly in the sugar industry, but we are expanding into various other crops. The fertilizer applicator is conducive to application to any crop that's grown in a row. And with our new products, all plants that are planted individually apart. If you go to the next slide, please.
Great. If you could push on a little bit, we're running a little bit behind time.
Okay, if you can go to the next slide. Here are all the points. Very briefly, cost effective, obviously improving your manual application of fertilizer. Hand application or tin application obviously is inaccurate and not user friendly. You don't cover the area that you normally would do. Terrain, sorry. Just go back one slide, please. That's right. Yeah, so the beauty of the Mayfield too is that it has, once you've calibrated, it's a very uniform application. Like Mikris mentioned earlier, one of the obviously challenges is maintaining a steady walking pace. We've evolved a system to eradicate that problem with a little pacer. This is an electronic device which gives a little electronic beat which the operator will keep pace with whilst walking in the field. He'll just literally step to the beat. It's used not only with a Mayfield, any knapsack sprayer where your speed of walking is paramount to your calibration. One of the beauties also with the Mayfield is limited soil compaction with the manual fertilizer application. So you can, there's no mechanical application which compacts the ground. Accessibility speaks for itself. The Mayfield, our slogan, where you can walk, you can use a Mayfield. Any terrain that you can literally walk in, you can use the applicator. The products are very durable and therefore low depreciation. And the row crop applicator has no moving parts, works purely on gravity. So there's nothing that wears out. All products, all the components are locally manufactured and are obviously readily available. Next slide, please. These are the products of the applicator range. They come in two configurations. Poly bag is a soft version, or a molded plastic tank version. Both come in a single or double row configuration. So you can, with a double row configuration, you can do 2 rows simultaneously, left and right of you as you walk down through between the rows. This is obviously for crops that are where placement of fertilizer is not that critical, such as maize, sugarcane, or any other crops that are not sensitive to the placement of the fertilizer. And it's ideally for top dressing the crops where the fertilizer is dribbled out through the calibration nozzle along the row. With maize, you also have the advantage of split application, so you don't put all your eggs in one basket and apply all your fertilizer at plant. You can do later applications to improve yield when the plants require the fertilizer. So if the crop is wiped out through hail or flood, then obviously you haven't spent that money on fertilizer at the early stages. Next slide, please.
You've got about 2 minutes left.
Okay. Thanks, Annie. Yeah, these are just images of the applicator being used. It's a video clip. Go to the next slide. Next slide, please. The calibration nozzle, this is just the aperture setting to regulate your flow rate. By increasing or decreasing the aperture setting, you increase or decrease the flow rate. So you'd set that according to the walking speed of the operator. There's a method of which we would send with the applicators on how to calibrate. Very simple and very effective. Next slide, please. Next slide. Can we have the next slide, please? You can skip that. This is our footprint globally at the moment. Just gives you indication where the Mayfield is found and used. Go to the next slide. This is what we are developing with the new products that we're going to be launching. Obviously, trying to reduce transport costs, to have the products so that the components can spoon into one another, to reduce transportation costs and reduce the cost at the end point. Next slide, please. There's a new product that we've made a prototype of and we'll be launching shortly. This is the dispenser for a measured dose of fertilizer per plant seedling. There'll be various attachments to allow for spot application, ring application, subsurface application, and it's infinitely adjustable from very low dosage to very large dosages per trigger dose. If you move to the next slide, please. The product is so easy to use that even my son can utilize the product. Just triggered by a hand-operated trigger on the side, and it will drop out a measured dose per trigger. And that, as I said, is infinitely adjustable from small doses right through to large doses. Forestry, orchards, vineyards, anywhere that individual doses are required. Next slide, please. Thanks, Annie. I think that's us done. And any questions, obviously, we can answer them at the end of the session.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Chanel. Much appreciated. Again, a good example of the use of technology to provide a solution which is very applicable to the environment and to the audience we're speaking to. With AFAP and its constituents, members very involved in the promotion of the need to use fertilizer. I think we need to add to that focus and to that drive the need to apply the fertilizer properly. Hence our engagement with AFAP over quite an extended period of time to convince them to also promote the use of fertilizer applicators and proper application technique to distribute this valuable and often expensive commodity. Having said that, we move to our last presentation by Basil Cooper of Basil's Business Opportunities. Michelle, you can have the first slide up. Basil hails from Bloemfontein. He was still Redstone, Free State Central Province of South Africa. We did his matric. We after qualified as a welder, worked in that industry for some time. Started his first business in Bloemfontein in the poultry business, incidentally. And it was there that the opportunity was provided to him by the Central University of Technology to get involved in the manufacturing of agro-processing equipment, which led to the birth of Basil's Business Opportunities that is now based in Midrand near Johannesburg. So Basil, yes, I think we're excited about you as a young man and what you've achieved and what you're offering in the agro-processing environment, which we believe is also a very, very important component for our small-scale growers and agri-businesses to take note of how to empower our farmers to add value to their crops and their products. So, Basil, we look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henny, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Basil Pupa, and I'm from Bloemfontein. Basil's business opportunity is manufacturing agro-processing equipment, and the business is providing an excellent value proposition through high standards of manufacturing. And we manufacture a broad spectrum of agro-processing equipment. Next slide, please. All the products are manufactured either in stainless steel or mild steel. That is then sent for galvanizing or powder coating. And in addition to the above, we offer site evaluations, site visits, installations, and we train the people on how to maximize their production by using the machines efficiently, and so that it can maximize their profit, and it can benefit them in market access and so on. And the business is owned by me, Basil Pupa, and the company is located now in Midrand, Gauteng province, but we started 3 years ago in Bloemfontein, whereby we were under an incubation program with CEDA Agricultural and Mining Tooling Incubator in Bloemfontein in Central University of Technology. Next slide, please. We have a range of poultry equipment, which is layer cages, starting from a small unit that can take 25 chickens to the big unit that can take 5,000 chickens, depending on how big or how small is the project, and we can manufacture the equipment or the products according to the customer specifications. And we also manufacture the coil cages, and we also manufactures the rabbit cages. So it's differ with sizes and how the customer or how big the project is. We also manufactures the nest boxes that comes with variety of sizes from 3-hole, 6-hole, 12-hole, and 24-hole nest box that can take about 100 chickens. It's placed in the broiler house or free-range house for the chickens to lay eggs in. The difference between the layer cage and the nest box is the layer cage, the eggs roll out of the cage so that the chickens are not breaking the eggs, and those eggs are table eggs, eggs that we normally eat, the eggs that we normally get in ShopRite Checkers and other retail shops. And the nest box is placed in the house and it's for eggs that the farmers normally use for putting in an incubator for hatching them. So the eggs keep safe and the eggs remains clean. So we also build the egg incubators from a 48 egg incubator, which is automatic turning, up to 1,320 egg incubator. And we also manufacture a variety of chicken abattoir equipment. The equipment that can slaughter from 200 chickens up to 800 to 1,000 chickens per day. So it also differ with how big is the project and how the farmer or the poultry farmer wants to slaughter. It's just not only limiting the person who is in production, who raise chickens. It can be owned by someone who wants to make a business for slaughtering for other people. I know businesses that slaughter for other people. They slaughter up to 1,000 chickens per day, and they make business out of the equipment only, besides growing the chickens. I will play a small clip now that is showing how the abattoir equipment works. These are 3 main machines. Next slide, please. So this is a piece of equipment that is used in a chicken abattoir. And we have a stunner bleeder, we have a 200-liter scalding tank, and we have a tilting boil plucker. This is a stunner bleeder where you can shock your chickens before you slaughter them. So this helps with the blood flow, so that the heart of the chicken pump very fast and the blood can be drained out of the chicken. No blood will be remaining at the carcass of the chicken. So that's a stunner bleeder. And this is a slaughtering cone. So this is a 12-bed bleeder. It takes 12 chicken at a time, so you can stun 6 chickens and slaughter them, and then you can now then leave them to drip blood and slaughter another 6 chickens, and you take the chickens that already drip blood, put in the scalding tank, so that the feathers can be nice and soft. This tank doesn't boil water, but it only warm water up to 63 degrees Celsius. So it doesn't burn the skin of the chicken. Normally when we plug the chickens by the hands, we boil water too much, and it burns the skin of the chicken. That makes the chicken's skin to be like red. So this is the good way to do it, and it can maximize the profitability, because you'll have access to market, because your products now will be professional and will be cleaned very well. And we also manufacture the portion cutters. If you want to cut portions, if you want to sell full chickens, you can sell full chickens. This is a tilting boil plucker to take the feathers off. It can take between 6 and 8 chickens per time. So after the chickens have been plugged and they're clean, it can run approximately in 30 seconds or less to plug 6 chickens, and then you hook them at the eviscerating rail to take the intestines out. So this is the quick piece of equipment that can slaughter up to 1,000 birds per day. Next slide, please. And we manufacture the fruit processing equipment. This equipment is being used by farmers who want to add value to their fruits. Like the first machine on your left is the 450 kgs to 500 kgs fruit finisher. So this machine separates the skin of the fruit with the juice. So you just put your full mangoes, you just put your guava, your granadilla. It will separate the skins and the seeds from your fruit, And then the middle machine is the pasteurizer for pasteurizing milk or pasteurized juice, or you to mix the concentrate to make juice. But it can also be used for people who wants to make the detergents. If you want to mix sunlight liquids, if you want to mix your pine gels, if you want to melt, maybe it can be used as a wax melter to melt the wax to make candles and so on. And then the last machine is a dryer. We manufacture a variety of dryers, from the small one that can take 45 liters to the big ones. So you can dry your fruits, you can dry your meat into those dryers. I'll show you a small clip how the fruit finishers work. Next slide, please. So this is a fruit pulper. This machine, it can be used to chop your fruits to make pulp. So if you want to maybe make a pulp out of tomatoes, you just throw them inside the machine, and the machine will grind or will cut pieces and make pulp out of it. And it can be used to make acha from the green mangoes. This is a fruit finisher, the small one that can take 180 kgs of pulp or fruits per hour. And maybe after you use the fruit pulper, you can use the fruit finisher now to separate the seeds and the skin of the fruit now to make juice. It comes out with different sizes for different types of fruits, or the way you want your end product to be. So it comes with different sizes up to 0.6 millimeter hole. So this is your pulp, the skin and the seeds of the fruit are separated from your juice. Next slide, please. We also manufacture oil processing equipment. So this equipment are normally used to extract oil from marula kernels, from coconut, from peanuts. So if you have your seeds that you want to extract oil from, we manufacture this cold pressing equipment. So it doesn't mess up your quality of the product. So it's a cold pressing. It doesn't use any heat. You can either get the machine with the electric pump or with the manual hydraulic pump. So we also manufacture the oil filters. If after you press the oil, and then you can filter the oil. And then the last machine on your right is the machine that used for separating the skin of the moringa from the seed, so that when you press, your seed is separated from the skin. So that is being used for that purpose. And we also manufacture the nut crackers to crack the marulas, so that you can get your kernels out. I'll show you a small clip now. Next slide, please.
Basil, 3 minutes.
Okay, any? Okay, this is just the oil press with the electric pump. So it's just press the oil out of castor oil seeds. You can go to the next slide. We also manufacture the peanut butter processing equipment. So the first machine is the roaster. You need to roast the peanuts first. And the second machine is the dehuller. It peels off the skin of the peanuts. And then the last machine is the peanut grinder to actually make the peanut butter. Next slide, please. This is just to show you how the grinder works. It grinds the peanuts now to actually make the peanut butter. This is your hopper that put the peanuts, 30 kgs an hour. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the team behind all this work. Myself, I've got 9 years experience in the industry of manufacturing different variety of agro-processing equipment, and I have my mentor and my sales and marketing manager, Dave Cole, who is in the industry over 30 years now, and he's almost retiring, but we take all the experience that is needed in the industry, and then we have our designer that makes sure that we are relevant to the industry, we are keeping up with times, and make sure that our equipment are upscaling and are helping small scale farmers to grow their businesses. Next slide, please. So if you have questions, this is my number and my email address, and we have a website where you can check in and see all the equipment that we manufacture besides the one that I've just mentioned. Thank you so much.
Basil, thank you very much. That's very impressive. Congratulations again. I think for a young man and a young businessman, you are doing very well, and we're certainly looking forward to follow your growth and expansion, and also specifically the uptake of the opportunities that you've been showcasing by farmers and agribusiness dealers across Africa that can see the opportunity to expand their product offering into the agro-processing and value-adding opportunities as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to move over in the next 10-15 minutes that we've got left to the questions and answer sessions. We've categorized it per speaker, and I think we will start with Mikris with a couple of questions that were posted to him. Just bear with us for a moment. We're just trying to get the questions on the screen as well. There you go. Mikris, can you respond to those, please?
Okay, the first question is for a hand planter, how do you drop the seed and what determines the spacing? You drop the seed by hand. Our first product was automatic selected planter, but we found that in Africa seed sizes differ so much. Some planters work lovely with round seeds, and then some farmers take their own seed and it's a quite big flat seed. In selection was not. You will see in a video the guy got a bag, so you drop the seed in a tube and you press it down. The spacing is determined by a measurement. You can adjust the measurement. You think I answered the question?
Yes, I think so, Mikris. Thank you.
Okay. How does a wheel-driven fertilizer applicator spread the fertilizer? It's a meter. The meter is working with a worm, so it drives out fertilizer. The gears calibrated by gears, so you can calibrate it 100%, and the fertilizer can either drop on top, or you can even adjust another part to drop it a place you want it to be.
Thanks, Mikris. The next set of questions is for Philip Kilian. For Myfield, sorry, we're jumping to Myfield first. Craig Chanel, would you field those questions for us, please, and as short as you possibly can, because you've got quite a list of questions there. Craig, are you there?
Yes, we hear Henny.
Okay, you can proceed.
Okay, what are the fertilizer value chains obtainable today? Hold on.
The fertilizer value chain really makes reference to where the fertilizer is applied across the farming value chain. So it starts, it's essentially the entire process and wherever the fertilizer is applied. So I'm not really sure we understand the question, but very happy to engage with whoever asks that maybe over the email and get a better idea of what it is that the question really is asking. For question 2, I'll hand to Craig.
Composting, there again, it comes down to compost will not work through the fertilizer applicator because they tend to, composts tend to be clump and won't flow readily through the unit. So basically anything that is not free flowing will not work through the Mayfield unit. It has to be free flowing, and the easiest way to ascertain this is if you fill a cup up with a volume of the product that you want to apply, tip it over gently. If it runs out like water, spilling out readily without clumping, it will work through the Mayfield. If it clumps, you will have problems through the Mayfield. Can you use the Mayfield product to spray fruit trees? The product is purely gravity, works purely on gravity, so it's not for liquids. It's all granular fertilizer or granular products that work through the Mayfield. So we can apply granular products to fruit trees. The nutrients that can be applied through the Mayfield applicator, any nutrients as mentioned that is in a granular or free-flowing powder form will work through the Mayfield. We've also applied organic fertilizers, as long as the organic fertilizer is in a prill or in a granular form. Emission losses, I assume that's through about the volatilization of nitrogen. There, with the placement of ammonia-based fertilizers, there will be a bit of loss of nitrogen to the atmosphere if placed in a clump. That's why we have various attachments that spread or disperse the granules so it's not sitting in a clump. Research that has been done has indicated, depending on the type of soil, that the amount of volatilization or loss of nitrogen is limited. The cost of the fertilizer applicator, they range between about 1,200 or 1,300 and 1,900 Rand per unit, obviously depending on volumes purchased and destination or where the units are being shipped to. What size granules are
Just give that in dollar
Yes.
equivalent roughly.
Well, so 1,300, what's that divided by, what is the exchange rate now? Sorry, I haven't been, we're going to work it out quickly. I'll answer the next question in the interim. The size of granules that will work through the applicator, obviously here it is limited. If the granules are too large, you'll have flow issues again. So anything from about a 5 to 6 millimeter diameter granule should go through the Mayfield with ease. And the critical part again is it needs to be free flowing. And that simple system of checking whether it'll flow readily is filling the container with your product that you want to apply, tipping it over gently. It should just flow out like water. So it's, coming back to US dollar, it's about a 75 to 110 US dollars per unit, depending on the unit type.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Chanel.
Thanks, Eddie.
Good. Can we move on to the questions for Basil, please? Basil, can you take that one?
Yes, I'm here, Annie. How much is the chicken system cost? It depends on how many chickens you want to slaughter. I mean, the full set of abattoir for slaughtering 200 to 250 chickens per day, it can goes up to 140,000. And the full set that can slaughter up to 1,000 chickens per day, it can goes up to 230,000, including the installation and training on the equipment. And you can buy the plucker alone, you can buy the scalder alone. So it just depends on how you want to where do you want to start as a business owner or as a agro processor. Thank you.
So it's a modular system. You can grow into it. You can buy specific pieces, and you can expand as you grow. The figures that Basil mentioned are obviously rand-based figures. Divide by 17 to get an indication of dollar for those interested. There was also a question that I saw asking about whether the equipment is locally manufactured, and the answer in most cases, well, and I think in all cases, bar some components that are imported, yes, the answer is it's all locally manufactured in South Africa, and should provide a very competitive price in the current exchange rate environment with a poor value of the rand. Basil, thank you very much. I think I'm seeing a last question or two that has popped up. Gerard, one for you. I'm not sure whether you saw it there. Has there been an increased interest in greenhouse farming among small-scale farmers in Southern Africa? And how easy is it to change from open field to greenhouse farming in terms of cost? Can you give us a quick answer on that one, please, Gerard?
There is definitely sorry, let me just put my screen on there as well. Sorry, there you go. Go on. There has been an increase, especially from small-scale farmers. We find even here in South Africa, or the domestic market, everyone is going the health away. They want to grow their own vegetables and things, and we find it even in rural areas, and more and more people want to do more undercover things as well. Still slow. It's getting there. I think we're all used to planting on the outside, planting in the open sun, and but it has become, depends on the product, obviously. If you do your normal vegetables and things, you can still do it in open field and things. But I think there's certain areas, I think where pests and disease are getting more and more, people tend to want to go the route of a bit of a protective system with either a shade house or a virus net house or something like that. But well, we would like the smaller farmers to emerge and take over, because I mean we need them. They need I almost want to say to produce money there, to produce food, to sell for money, and I think the market should support them. I think it's that was part of. I don't think there was a part I left out.
Gerard, that's well said. I think it can also be mentioned that greenhouse farming, tunnel farming, is not necessarily only confined to crop production. One of the future seminars that we would have been discussing with AFAP is to talk about aquaculture, aquaponics, hydroponics, but aquaculture fish farming is also practiced in tunnels, as is things like snail farming, which we have reported on in our last Agripreneur newsletter. I'm sorry we missed the screen share there, but I invite all of you, if you are interested in alternative high-value crops, good information on agriforafrica.com. You'll find the latest newsletter on the front page, where we talk, amongst others, about snail farming, which can be done quite profitably on a fairly small scale in tunnels, or in any other structure for that matter.
If I can just add, there is, you're so right there. There's look for a tunnel as a structure that you can use for anything. I mean, we have done it from our housing projects. We have done it for ostrich farming to give the little ones a bit of protection. That's actually where it started with the small tunnels. We've done now, as I say, the drying of fruit, flowers, whatever else in it. So it is very versatile to do your snail farming. Anything that needs a little bit of a heat buildup and things you can do. The drying of products, super. It works very well. So yeah, you can use it. And I mean, if you want to park your tractor in it, we do it here on the farm. We've got a greenhouse structure that is a cheaper structure than building it with bricks and things. So we use it for that as well.
Thank you, Gerard. Yes, thank you to all our speakers. We really appreciate your valuable time and inputs from my side also to our audience. Thank you for your attendance and patience as we all learn to manage the technology and also had to face load shedding in South Africa that caused havoc from time to time on our internet connection. But thank you to you all. Thank you to FAP, Sandra, to you specifically for facilitating this and arranging this opportunity. We look forward to do more of this with you in the near future. And I don't know whether you want to say anything about that, but with that, thank you from my side, from my team, to Dylan that assisted me, Dylan Fourie, as our technical expert. Thank you. We appreciate that, and keep well, and God bless. Sandra,
Yes.
are you still there?
Yes, thank you, Henny. I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank the speakers for their time and for the presentation. We really presented some really great technologies for our agri-SMEs and our small-scale farmers. And yes, and we're looking forward to working together to present some other technologies in upcoming webinars. I thank you for everyone that participated, and I do want to say that we will be sending in the next couple of days the presentations and the recordings, and please do share with your colleagues, and have a good day, and thank you to all once again.
Thank you, Sandra.
Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Annie.